we're going to have very shortly Mr. Okorie Kalo speaking to you, taking you on a topic on corporate insolvency. Now, the Continuing Legal Education Committee, as you all know, deals with continuing legal education, training for lawyers, and mentorship. And the group mentorship series is one of the very successful initiatives of the committee. Those who've been following what we've done would know that we started these sessions with an event by Mr. Wenga Oyebode, MFR, and then we were hosted by Mr. George Etomi, and then Mr. Dr. Wale Babalaki, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. And it's our pleasure today to be at this office to listen to one of the most distinguished legal practitioners in Nigeria. Today's format is one that we are yet to understand how it's going to work very well, because Chief has got a lot up his sleeves. So I just want to say a big thank you to those of you who've come. It's unfortunate that we still stick to African time, despite the fact that our profession dictates otherwise. So with this, I just want to thank the firm of Punuka, and I'll invite my friend Nnamdi to just say a little welcome to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Nnamdi Oragu. I'm a partner in the firm of Punuka Attorneys and Solicitors. My role for now is just to welcome you to our firm and tell you a bit about who we are before you get to see the senior partner, Chief Idigbe, SAN. Punuka is a law firm established in 1947. We have close to 100 years of history. It was founded by Justice Idigbe of formerly of the Supreme Court, passed in 1983. The law firm has 5 partners and about 40 lawyers spread across 3 branches. The Lagos branch is the head office. Asaba is the branch that takes care of matters in the east and the south-south, while Abuja is the branch that takes care of the north and the northwest branch of our work. The firm has various areas of practice. We're very strong in litigation. That's why Chief Idigbe SAN is the lead counsel in most of our matters. We are versed also in capital market practice. We have a strong footing in entertainment law as well, which I guess me and the CLE team will have a lot to do as we move forward on. We also have very great strength in insolvency, and that is why one of the things you'll see today is our insolvency practice, which is headed by Mr. Kalu as well. We pride ourselves in knowledge, and that's why when this was pushed forward to us, we embraced it very quickly. This firm prides itself as a knowledge-based firm. We have no other thing as our great strength. We pride ourselves that we have great knowledge here and great depth. So I expect that, and I hope that at the end of the day, we'll have impacted in you some of what we think we have. I hope you find this very useful. We don't want you to waste your time here with us. But even if you don't find it useful eventually, we'll have food after that counts for something. Thank you very much for coming. Just some security rules and protocols before I conclude. 2 security doors in case there's a crisis. There's one at the front and there's one at the back. The lavatories are one here and one in front as well. So I think if you need anything, kindly inform me or any of the staff here. Thank you very much. Nice having you. So I'll invite, sorry, let me tell you a bit about the program as well. I talked about the food, I forgot the main event. That was the problem with pushing things up. So Okorie Kalo will give you a bit of an insight into insolvency practice. When he finishes, then you will, Chief Idigbe will come down and then he will start his own part of the event, which I do believe you'll find very interesting and novel. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Well, just to add to what Mr. Oragu has mentioned, actually taking you through this is a way of introducing you to the second leg, which is about mentorship. Because essentially, I have developed expertise here because I was mentored by Chief Idigbe. So it's actually also giving you a practical example of what the whole topic that you're discussing today, the practical results that you can get if you pay your dues and somehow invest in it. So I am a mentee, and actually as well, when Chief Idigbe will be around, I think I'm in a good position as well to be giving you some knowledge sharing about my own experience as a mentee in the relationship, so that you are able to get the both sides of the divide. So we want to talk about insolvency. You guys are 6 years, 1 to 6 years along the line. How much of insolvency have you heard in school, and how much of insolvency have you heard since you are in practice? Can anyone venture to tell me, have you done any work on insolvency? You've not done any work on insolvency. Those that are here now, you've not done any work on insolvency. Yes, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Charles. Okay, I work for Primera Africa Legal. Beside reading Chief Idigbe's book on capital market solicitors in Nigeria, the topic of business rescue was introduced to me for the first time. In practice, I've seen this happen, where a company that, for want of confidentiality, we're not able to divulge much, that were in the process of being wound up. Creditors wound up. The conversation was brought on the table because of a little bit of cross-border participation in the company, to see how the company can be rescued. And a lot of ideas that we picked out from that book, and especially the way it's practiced in South Africa, was what we implemented. I did not play a lead role in the transaction, at best trying to follow up with the documentation and the rest of them, but it was quite an experience, and that have also informed my coming here today.
Very good. That's very good. But this is just to give you the tip of the iceberg, because as you can see, out of all of you here, only one person can speak of having an exposure in insolvency practice, because it's typically, okay, don't worry, let's give you 5% of the population. But it tells you that the law is going, when you want to grow in law, you have to specialize. You cannot just continue to be, in quote, what the law school will say to you, a jack of all trade. You actually have to carve a niche for yourself and develop expertise, and actually, drive and create a market for yourself. And in the mentorship side of it, we can discuss about it. But for now, I want to give you a brief overview of insolvency, and in particular the topic that deals with third-party assets and insolvency. Now, from what I got from my colleague here, so you are able to define what insolvency is, right? The floor is yours.
Okay, the definition itself is not an easy thing to come by jurisprudentially, but
that is called a disclaimer.
Okay, so insolvency is the process of bringing the existence of a company, bringing when a company is a going concern, to an end in such a way that all the interest, the vested interest from the creditors down to the shareholders are well accommodated, to gradually bringing the company to an end, more or less. Yes.
Very well. Thank you very much. Your response is, if I put it nicely, partially correct. If I am blunt, Your response betrays the understanding that most people have in insolvency in Nigeria without actually understanding the true essence of insolvency. Yes, it is a process, and it is a formal process, and it is conducted within the confine of the judiciary. It is also a process that is regulated by statutes. Whereas in terms of bilateral activities between creditors, stakeholders of the company with the company, in insolvency, you have what is called a formal collective procedure, which is driven or at least regulated by the court and what is called an insolvency practitioner. But it is not defined by bringing the life of a company to an end. It is one of the possible outcome, but it is not what defines insolvency. And that, of course, typically is also because the insolvency framework that we have, which is a piecemeal framework that is more of, will I call it, a colonial heritage from the Companies Act, gives you that very narrow scope of insolvency. But that is not what insolvency is about. Insolvency always will deal with the inability of a company to meet its commercial obligation as at when due. Having said that, there may be many reasons why a company cannot meet its obligation as at when due. It does not even necessarily mean that the company is insolvent. So there are actually tests to determine whether a company is actually insolvent. Deals with what is called cash flow insolvency. It deals with what is called balance sheet insolvency. Depending on the test of insolvency, you will determine the level of distress of the company, and that also will be a pointer towards either reorganization, in other words, reallocation of the assets and reallocations of the interests of the stakeholders to have the company continue as a going concern, which again you can call business rescue or business restructuring, or winding up or liquidation, which is bringing the life of that company to an end and yet still trying to equitably, in quotes, handle the distribution or allocation of the assets that will be realized from that company. So insolvency is not equated to winding up. It is not equated to liquidation. That is not insolvency. And obviously as well, whether you were as an undergraduate under your company law or in law school, it is not much taught, is it? Very well. Yet, it is one of the most prolific area of practice that you have in any commercial jurisdiction, because companies will arise, companies will do business, companies will have times of difficulties, and it is when the skills of practitioners like you and I, particularly commercial lawyers, will be required to actually give solutions to the company vis-a-vis its stakeholders. And you do that in the law court. Of course, insolvency has developed in such a way that you even do that in what you call semi-formal procedures called administrative procedures, which are areas of insolvency that require more of the participation of the company and an understanding between the company and its body of creditors. So in the typical setup of winding up that you have in the Company and Allied Matters Act, you have the what you call creditors voluntary winding up or members voluntary winding up. In each of those cases, is the assumption is that the company is at the helm of the affairs, driving the process. So the company will actually need to then engage its stakeholders, the creditors, and try to reach an arrangement or compromise of some sorts to allow it to wind up in the most beneficial way possible, both to the company and to themselves. And in those type of situations, it will make some proposals to its creditors. And the company as well may decide what is called members voluntary winding up, which is actually not, in the real sense of it, a true species of insolvency, because it assumes that the company is solvent and able to meet up with its obligation with the various stakeholders. Those procedures are called administrative procedures because they are done outside the court. They only would require intervention of the court and be converted into judicial procedures if you are unable to reach an agreement with your creditors, because then one or many of them would rush to court and trigger the involuntary process or the compulsory process that is known as creditors winding up or compulsory winding up that you have under your CAMA. And I'm only speaking of that because under CAMA you have that, right? And when we will deal with assets belonging to third parties, I am trying to give you a talk of something that takes about 3 days of training. When you get to, for instance, if you pick the interest, when you want to do become a BRIPAN member, Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners Association of Nigeria, you would pay a nice sum of money, not too much, it's less than 100K. And for 3 days, you are actually introduced to an area of practice that you get to meet, which we most equate as well to debt recovery, when we are not equating it to killing the company. Recovery is not insolvency, even though debt recovery involves some form of insolvency. But it is not an insolvency procedure because it is actually just a right that a creditor has against the company. It's a bilateral relationship. The insolvency process is a collective relationship. No creditor is allowed under the law, when insolvency is triggered, to have what we call a rat race, go on his own and do whatever he likes. The law obliges him to come into the insolvency proceedings and notify of his claim. So when you look at winding up, you have what is called filing winding up and advertisement, so that every creditor or stakeholder that has a claim against the company will file what is called a proof of claim. And so once that is done, they are able to get involved. I don't know how we'll do it because this particular side is just a default so that the senior advocate, the big masquerade that is coming, will come. And I have not even started. So I think we may have to change the format a bit, because taking you through assets belonging to third parties will be a bit of a difficult thing. So I'm giving you an overview of the nature of insolvency now. And so if you have that in mind, it creates what is called, it's one of the areas of the law that creates the most conflict between the normal commercial laws rules that you know and insolvency law itself, simply because normal commercial law is based on the rights that the parties create among themselves. It is always going to be based on contract. It may be a contract for sale of goods. It may be a loan, so that's finance, security, and all that. And what you are creating is the law of the parties. You have decided that, oh, in return for this, you get this. And this type of contracts, there are so many of them. As between the company and its employees, there are contracts of employment. And there are rights and obligations that arise. as between the company and its lenders, there are loan financing type of agreement, and there are rights that arise from those agreements, and those agreements guide the rights and obligation of each of the parties, and also bring about the claims that they can make in court as a personal right. But insolvency is a statutory creation. It says, hold it there. Instead of having multiplicity of personal actions by different stakeholders that are creditors one way or the other, and it could be, again, your trade creditors. By trade creditors, a company like, in quote, a law firm like Punuka now has suppliers that give all sorts of services as well. There are contracts that bind you, and they will be unsecured. I'm not sure Punuka has been, well, taking loans, but let us assume that Punuka has been taking loans, right? That, again, is a relationship that you have to manage. But the commercial rules that you have there will be suspended, because there is a statutory framework that is created, which creates a collective framework for the resolution of the indebtedness of the company against all these different stakeholders. So that is why insolvency is creates a distinctive tension between the normal recognition of rights that you have in normal commercial relationship, and what the law wants to create to ensure that you have a fairly efficient way of dealing with the debt of that company without having to have a multiplicity of action. So with that, that gives you a fair idea of what insolvency is and what insolvency is not. Insolvency is not liquidation. Insolvency is not debt recovery. But it can involve any of both. However, what makes it quite distinctive is that it is circumscribed by rules of the law, and any insolvency practitioner has to know what he can do, his rights and powers, and what he cannot do, and his duties. And the court also has a major role to play to ensure that fairness is achieved among the different stakeholders. So without much ado, let me take you to the second aspect of, or the main aspect of this, evening, which I said the reason why you see me here, for instance, is because of the mentor-mentee relationship, which has been such that I have developed an area of specialization, which I am, sharing with you now, just at a very peripheral level. So, while we speak on mentorship now, that we may now be able to, I will now speak on from the perspective of a mentee and be able to tell you some of the experiences that I may have had. And of course, the mentor is here. So you have questions from the perspective of what you expect of a mentor. You have questions from a fellow mentee, if I will put it that way. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are happy to introduce to you Chief Anthony Idigbe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. I think it will be safe for me to say that many of you learned colleagues have one way or the other heard about him. And that is the reason why you are here. You want to tap and collect one thing or the other. Well, you will be served today. I don't know whether these few hours will do justice to what you want to get from him, but I'm sure he will be able to manage and instill one or two things that will give you the edge that you need. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, Um, let me put it this way. For me, I think I should start speaking about my perspective as a mentee. I hope that will help you. I came into law practice, and my goal after youth service was to find a law firm where, as I put it to myself in terms of prayers, where I would see a spirit of excellency. And I got just that. And in fact, it was a funny referral that I got from one of my colleagues in Unilag. And I came into Punuka, and I thought to myself, after working about a year or so, I had big dreams. I had already been courting my wife, that is now my wife, from university. And it was not very easy. 6 years of courting is not a very funny thing. And I had the opportunity to work in a thriving law firm with, well, he's here, so maybe I'm brushing it a bit, but really, he was a fantastic lawyer that I was meeting. And there used to be this aura. You get a brief, he throws the brief at you and said, go and work at it. Of course, he gives you no clue or direction whatsoever and throws you to the shark. Just go and work at it. Many a times you will come back, maybe you wrote 4 pages, then you get 10 pages where he has written things one way or the other, rearrange, redesign all the things that you have done. And after a while, you keep asking yourself, am I having anything upstairs at all? And this continued for a very long while. But coming back to the issues I'm raising, I also wanted to make money. The work was good. The energy was good. But the pay was not commensurate. I think after a while, particularly when it was becoming so difficult to meet my Maslow's hierarchy of needs, having a roof over my head, not taking a loan for 6 months of my salary to pay for rent or things like that, I began to think to myself, I may not last in this private practice. Maybe I should be looking for something that will be able to pay my bills. In other words, I wanted to leave practice for the wrong reason, because I got all that I wanted, but it was not paying up with my bills. The truth of the matter is that I actually at some point left. And I am privileged because it doesn't happen to a lot of people. I actually had a good rapport both with him and other people in the firm, and they understood that I was leaving for the wrong reason. And I was even told, okay, I've heard you, maybe you think about it. Let's talk about it maybe some other time. And happily, I was able to get another chance to come back into practice, because I have to be very honest. When you have stayed for 1.5 years in a good law firm, a busy law firm, and you get into the corporate world, you will be bored. You will be bored, because the level of work you are doing, when they give you work, your ethics of work that has been instilled in you, whether you like it or not, because I failed to mention that it was a usual thing for us to sleep in the office. And sometimes Oga here will come back the next day and say, oh, you slept in the office. Oh, okay, sorry. But there were little things that he was doing as well to show you that he actually appreciated the hard work. So in those days and all that, maybe after a while he would just give you just some stipend and said, oh yeah, go and rest, go and do this and all that. But he was a very good taskmaster. And so when I was in corporate practice, my work load appeared very light. So I saw very clearly that, yeah, I was earning more money, but I was not very happy. And thankfully, I also had a very good wife that told me when the opportunity came, do what you like, because I know that I'm not very happy. You're not feeling fulfilled and all that, so do what you like. So why am I saying this? From a mentee's perspective, I think one of the things that I took, even when I came back, is that you need to be patient if you actually want to get the best out of your mentor. Because there is a maturity period for you to get return on your investment, because what you are doing is actually an investment. You are investing in, building knowledge capital. And it is not something that in other climes you pay money for it. And in Nigeria, when the system was still good, actually there's something that is called pupillage. I understand that in some cases you actually need to pay for it to actually be able to gain what you are looking for. I say that because I have been privileged to walk through the ropes, and at the same time I see younger people than me, and some I'm mentoring now, and I know the most critical aspects of you being able to maximize a relationship between a mentor and a mentee, particularly in a professional setting, because obviously there are other modes of mentorship. But if it is that you have, for instance, a focus in your career, and you're able to identify a mentor that maybe is in that field, or somebody that is a professional that is also able to advise you, you need to have an ingredient in that relationship that will make you to get the best of it. And that essential quality is the ability for you to be patient and be content in as much as you are not getting all that you are looking for. Because you actually have to pay your dues in this profession. It took me 5 years, I think, after I returned to get to a certain level. And since then, it's been a gradual, rise to where I am now. But it's not the final bus stop, because you keep having to reinvent yourself. You will find out that in the truest sense of it, as a professional, and this is one of the things that, for me, having Chief Idigbe as a mentor has been fantastic. And I think nobody in this office can say that if he has stayed here for 5 years, he has not been asked to reinvent himself in terms of his practice. As far as he is concerned, if you have reached your peak after 5 years, you need to do something else. So even as we are talking, as a person, you, beyond insolvency, beyond capital markets and all that, you have to continue to add value to yourself, which of course he does regularly. Does it cost money? Yes. Does it cost time? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. Do you want to do it? Yes. Will you have the patience? That's your call. So without much ado, we'll still get into some of these. You will have questions. I may be able to share one or two other things. We have one of my colleagues, Mobo, that will read you a citation of Chief Idigbe.
Chief Anthony Idigbe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. No. A seasoned legal practitioner with 35 years plus experience, Chief Anthony Idigbe is the senior partner at Punuka Attorneys and Solicitors, a fully integrated and multi-dimensional business law practice in offices in Lagos, Abuja, and Asaba, Nigeria. He was elevated to the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, which is equivalent of Queen's Counsel, in 2000, and was admitted to practice law in Ontario, Canada in 2016. He has advised clients on several complex transactions and has represented major companies and institutions in the highest courts of Nigeria. He is a well-known capital markets legal advisor and has advised and acted as counsel to the Securities and Exchange Commission. He has also been involved as lead counsel in many big-ticket litigation briefs, such as the Kano-Trovan clinical trial cases. He also possesses a wealth of knowledge and experience in telecommunications law, particularly the workings of the Nigerian telecommunications disputes. He has extensive experience in insolvency and restructuring and has acted as counsel to several ex-bank executives in a continuous flow of civil and criminal cases arising from the 2009 central bank intervention and restructuring in the banking sector. Anthony Idigbe was appointed in 2013 as the National Coordinator for Nigeria, World Bank Global Forum of Law, Justice and Development Project on Treatment of Shareholders' Rights in Insolvency of Companies, 2013 to 2014, and in 2017 as the chairman of the MBA Legal Profession Regulatory Review Committee. Anthony graduated from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, in 1982 with a second-class upper degrees. He also received the Honorable Justice Orojo Prize for the best student in company law. He finished from the Nigerian Law School, Lagos, in 1983, also with a 2-1. He has 3 Masters of Law degrees from the University of Toronto, Canada in 2015, the Robert Gordon University in Scotland, UK 2012, and the University of Lagos, Akoka in 1988, as well as an MBA from the Enugu State University of Science and Technology, ESUT, Enugu in 1997, a diploma in advertising from the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON, in 1999, and was lecturer at ESUT Business School, Enugu, between 1999 and 2009, and APCON from 2000 to 2002. He's currently pursuing a doctorate in law with specialization in insolvency at the Osgood Hall Law School, York University, Canada. He is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, Insolvency International, and International Bar Association. He is also a member of the Institute of Directors and the International Insolvency Institute. He is a past president of the Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners Association of Nigeria, BRIPAN. He is the founder and first chairman, Capital Markets Solicitors Association, CMSA, and now functions as a trustee of the association. He has also served on several arbitration panels and is currently a member of the ICC Arbitral Panel. He is a notary public, author of many published books and articles, and a renowned person. Learned colleagues, I give you Chief Anthony Idigbe, Senior Advocate in Nigeria. Just to remind us that the event is streaming live via the Punuka Facebook page. So if you're following us, you can ask your colleagues as well to join us. That is streaming live there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those nice words. I don't know whether I deserve them, but I'm grateful anyway. Um, you're welcome to Punuka Attorneys and Solicitors. I'm sure that they've given you the health and safety brief. I hope they did and told you where all the escape doors are and where the washroom is, etc. That's our standard procedure in Punuka. We try to make sure that people who visit the International Law Center where we are located are as comfortable as possible, and we care about your safety. Today, I intend to share with you my experience in the profession and how I found my space in the profession, and also how I have tried to help other people to find their space. And it's my hope that at the end of today, we'll all learn some lessons as to how we can individually find our space within the profession and also within the world, as it were. Prior to now, I had requested those who were interested in participating in this mentoring session to respond to some questions. I'd like to inform you that about 58 people responded, and I have the sort of the analysis of the response here. Maybe because I'm now a researcher, so I'm very data driven in how I do things. So I already have an idea of who you are, where that is, when you were called to the bar. I have an idea of what your immediate career priorities are, some idea of what your plans are, and then what your vision is. And I will be sort of sharing with you my analysis of that data. And then I would give you a sort of talk on some theoretical perspectives, and I will share some thoughts on what I think the objectives should be, and then your strategy and plans. At the end of the day, I want us to do an exercise. I want us to, when we finish at the end of today, that you should write a personal statement and a vision statement and a plan. So for yourself, you actually write like one page. So we'll do that exercise at the end of the day. So, and then I would be as is normal with typical research, the data which I have will keep confidential, so I will not mention names, so the person is not identified. But perhaps when I talk about a story that is here, you may know that it's you that I'm referring to, but I will not mention names, so we'll keep everything extremely confidential, and the data will be protected. I do have a slide that I want to guide me through the process. So if they could put up the slide. Okay, so, but I would start anyway. First of all, let me talk about the feedback that I got from you before I go into my slide. So there's so many things that were said, but I just do some general analysis. You may see the formal figures when they come up on the screen, but I will just speak randomly to the responses that I got. Some of you said you want to be, like somebody said, I want to learn, I want to have experience in energy law, finance, corporate and commercial, and oil and gas. And then the same person says wants to be gainfully employed in a reputable firm and gather experience in my area of interest, and then pursue a master's and PhD program in selected areas of law, and eventually take up a part-time lecturing in a foreign institution preferably. So I was trying to analyze this, but it looks like there are too many things lumped together. The person wants to be everything. Wants to Andrew, wants to check out, right? To teach in a foreign institution, and wants to work in a law firm, so which means wants to practice. At the same time wants to be a lecturer, that wants to have an academic career, you know. And then, but you know, if you are a lecturer, you know, you specialize in a very narrow area. But this person wants to do energy, finance, corporate, commercial, oil and gas. So you can see that the vision is not very clear. And it's like I asked the question around this. I said, you know, what is it? What is it really you want in life? You know, why are you a lawyer? Why are you a lawyer? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Why did you read law? Is it to make money? Is that why you decided to read law? To make money? Will that give you satisfaction as a lawyer if you had money? Or are there other values that you want to pursue? Perhaps justice, freedom, you know, service, etc. So I raised that as a preliminary issue, that you need to actually go back and think about yourself and why you read law. What difference do you want to make to the world? Or is it only to make a difference to yourself? And maybe what you mean by yourself is your pocket. So is it just about money? This is very important because eventually to be successful as a lawyer, you have to be driven by issues other than money. And for instance, here in Punuka, we have a reputation that when we take up a case, we fight it. People know that, and we fight for justice. So you find that people who feel they need a lawyer that cannot be corrupted, they need a lawyer that will fight for them no matter what, will not compromise, etc. They would consider, you know, a firm like Punuka, because they build that reputation. They know that it's not all about money. They don't do things just because of money. And what's very interesting is that somehow we have been making money in between, you know. So it's very important that you said that. Now, another person, I was reviewing this person's response, and the person said, career growth. I'm yet to have a direct mentor who will assist me in growing in general practice and a chosen area of specialization. And you know, the question I asked is, how do you get a mentor? You know, do they fall from the sky? You know, and again, this is there are many respondents who had the same answer. Oh, I'm looking. No, not that they are looking. I don't have a mentor. That's the sort of language they use. I don't have a mentor. And, so I ask you the question. So where is the mentor going to come from? You know, at times in life you have to make some strategic decisions. You know, I was very lucky that my my father arranged for me to do my law school attachment with the office of H.A. Ladner, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and then I tried my best during that short attachment. And I got friendly with a lot of the lawyers. I made an impression at our meetings, etc. And guess what? Soon after, my father died. Right? I had been posted to go to do my youth service in Cross River State. I'm sure most of the guys here, if you were posted to do youth service in Cross River State, you'll be excited about it. Right? Well, guess what? I was also excited about it. I was looking forward to going to do my youth service in Cross River State. And then my father died. And then I made a strategic decision that, wow, being from a polygamous home and blah, 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 I needed to start life immediately. So I knew I had to change my youth service and start life. And then my colleagues in the law firm, they were not my colleagues yet because I was not a part of the firm. They approached me and asked me, would you like to have anything to do with us, even if you are not doing your service, we can have you come in, and work in the evenings, etc. And I said, why not? I took that opportunity immediately. And the summary is that mentees don't fall from the sky, or mentors. They don't fall from the sky. You have to invest in relationships. Now, I can't tell you how do you identify who is going to be your potential mentor. All I can tell you is that's your problem. But one of the strategic decisions you have to make for yourself is to identify potential mentors, find ways to invest in the relationship. I know a lot of you, maybe you prefer to stay at home and watch football, right? And there are things you could have done to build relationships. You will avoid them. You don't invest in other people. Most of the time, as a younger person, it may be your time you may invest. But you will not invest in it. And then you will now come and say, I don't have a mentor. Mentors don't fall from the sky. So, there's another one about that falls under the category of conflicting vision. So I don't need to repeat that one. But most of you know what you feel then. But from the first analysis that I've made, you would you will be able to decide whether your vision is conflicting and you have too many things you want to do. There's somebody here who also told us that I think he or she wants to develop a career in commercial dispute resolution and corporate commercial practice, lecture in a tertiary institution, further my studies, set up a firm, become an expert in commercial dispute resolution, set up a non-profit organization that focuses on the rise of the girl child. Now, if you want to be an academic, that's a career, right? And you have to develop that career path. There are other people who are also confused like this. They want to be in practice and then they want to do academia at the same time. Now, remember that under the law today, academics can actually practice, right? Right. But I will tell you what the ideal is of how an academic will practice and how we practice here. First of all, to be successful as an academic, there is a difference between an adjunct academic, that is, you can be an adjunct professor where you are like a practicing person who uses that time to lecture, right? That's just to make a little cash, and the rest. That you are not respected as an academic. Now, but for an academic, you need to specialize, right? And you need to develop the means of becoming an academic. And there's one of the respondents here who says he or she wants to be an academic, but he or she wants to do is to work in a firm and then be an academic. And the interesting thing is that person says that he or she is volunteering in a law firm without being paid. But when you look at the ultimate objective, the person wants to be a lecturer, so wants to be an academic. And I asked the question, so why volunteer in a law firm? Why didn't you volunteer as a research assistant? So you'll be within the academic environment. Why you volunteer in a law firm? So usually what happens is if you want to be an academic, you will do your first degree, you go on to do your master's. And you will do even your master's, you will try to do it by thesis, by actually either thesis or long papers, not by coursework. If you want to practice, you will do your master's by coursework. There's a difference. They are not the same type of masters. So because the masters you do by coursework is like the MBA of law. So you do many courses to know a little bit about everything because you are going to be in practice. But the masters you do by thesis or long papers, you focus on a narrow area. And if you did very well in that, you go on to do the PhD. Again, in that narrower area of that narrow area. Then you become an expert in that area. You get into the community. People get to know you within that community. And you are an expert in that community. And that community then becomes your base for your clientele in terms of consultation, in terms of briefs, etc. And then the external community of lawyers like us who are in practice, when we then need an expert in that area, we come to you. So that's your practice. You are still teaching in that specialized area. So for instance, there are certain complex tax issues we have. We know tax people in the universities that we go to, and they work with us. Okay, that's how you go in as an academic. Really, if you want to go in as an academic, you can't say, I want to practice for 10 years, then I go in to become an academic. You know, it's almost like parallel lines. I mean, but it's not that you can't do it, but if you do it, then you know you are taking another track. And then you have to pursue that track, and you have to know how to pursue that track. It's academia is like, you know, like people are dancing and you want to join the dance. You have to, if like salsa dancing, you know, you have to know the rhythm to join the dance, and then you join. So academia is like a debate. People are having a debate, and they're always debating about theoretical things. You know, this person will say that this should be the position, the other one will say this. So it's a debate going on. So you have to join that debate at some point, right? And then they have to respect you, that your opinion matters. So you join the debate, and then you become part of the debate. That's how you go into academia. You do it. It's not lecturing. Lecturing is not the same thing as academia, where you stand up and you are teaching students. That's not really academia. Because academia is the research and the publication of your opinion on the debates that are going on, conceptual debates, theoretical debates that are going on. That's what makes you an academia, not selling handouts or standing in front of students. So it takes us back to what is your objective? Is it that you just want to make money, or you want to make a difference? So you see people who want to lecture without academics. somebody said, somebody said, somebody said, my results do not fit the requirements for most top firms. And I asked the question, so how do you want to change the narrative? How do you want to change the narrative? Yes, so your result did not fit the requirement for most firms. But funny enough, this person says she wants to, or he wants to be academic, wants to teach. Yeah. Yeah. So, wants to teach. So wants to get masters and that's diversified to other areas, maritime law, investment banking, the same issue of confused vision. So I say, how would this person change the narrative? Can he find me had a third class? But he was one of the most successful lawyers in Nigeria. So why would you tell me that my results do not fit the requirement for most top firms? So what are you doing about it? Every day, I get nothing less than 20 applications for employment here. And I look through them. Most of the time, I try to... Okay. So, I try, to go through them, and most of the time you can see the difference. When I did my MBA, one of the things they taught us is how to do write business letters, business communication, right? So they say business communication, always put the good news first. Never put the bad news first. Even though you are going to give the person some bad news, put the good news first, and then the bad news will follow below. Right? So when I look at the applications that I get, most of the time you would see somebody would write and just nothing will be written on the email, and you just see attachment CV. I don't even open those ones. I don't open them. Somebody will just write, please find attached my CV. I hereby apply for employment. Please find attached my CV. I don't open these ones. Because it means the person is not even imaginative enough to know that whoever is going to read this thing, or who will read it and is capable of taking a decision on your destiny, is a busy person. And so you should give the person what? The good news first. But you see somebody will write and say, I hereby apply for employment. I had first class in so and so place. I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that. Will I not look at that one? I will look at it first. So you need to sort of like augment your skills, where you are weak. So how do you do interviews? How do you write applications, etc.? You have to have a strategy to change the narrative. That's the issue, etc. And as we'll do later, where you do your personal statement, I hope that you get something from here. Somebody said he or she is doing real estate. A real estate private firm, real estate consultant, and likes to write fiction, and then wants to own estates, Basically, it was very focused, real estate, and then wants to own estates, so investment, property and the rest. And then to become a senior advocate of Nigeria. I said, so where does SAN come in being real estate consultant? Okay. So, you know, there are so many. One, somebody said he or she was interested in regulatory reform in the energy sector. I found that very exciting, you know. Then I asked the question, what have you done about this? Because when it then goes further to the career plans and this and that and that, you know, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. There are some of the respondents, they had no ideas. You know, nothing. One said, I'm struggling. Then the other one, client satisfaction. The other one, poor remuneration. And then to garner experience to become a renowned legal luminary. But there is nothing concrete. Nothing. Nothing. The person is floating in the sky. Right? So somebody else has to come and do the visioning for you, right? Somebody else has to create the plan for you. You are looking for spoon feeding, right? Who is going to spoon feed you? When I was coming back about 3 days ago, I flew with the governor of Edo State, and so we had a little chat in the aircraft. And he said, Tony, there's a problem. I have 600,000 people that are between the age of 6 and 12 years in Edo State. How, which schools will they go to? What skills will they have when they are 20 years old? So if you look at behind those that are coming, it's scary. So you have to find a space. All these people are going to be struggling with you for jobs, for this. Yes, you have to find a space. You have to find a niche. You have to find something that makes you stand out there in the market. Okay. There are a few that I really would like to talk about. There's somebody who said is in a partnership, and it's because I discussed partnership later, you know, but he's in what I would call traditional partnership, which is very good. Himself and his colleagues. I recently started my own practice, a loose partnership with 2 other young lawyers. And then, this is very interesting. Although I consult with a few seniors and relate with a lot more in terms of knowledge acquisition, I still use a senior colleague's office as my address for service. I am at a stage where learning is important to me, both at the level of professional practice and the business of law, particularly with respect to attraction, management, and retention of business. The first part seems to come naturally to me. The second, on the other hand, appears to require more effort from me than originally expected. Then he says he wants to build his management capacity, you know, develop his content, attract business. Very good plans. And, you know, he says, towards the vision, he then says, successfully set up my practice within 2 years. So he has immediate target that in 2 years the practice will be successful. Or in the alternative, become a partner in one within the same time, short time. Then he talks about improving his skills about as a litigator. You know, I find this quite impressive. The traditional partnership involved different people coming together to practice under one umbrella. That's the traditional practice. Okay? So in the traditional partnership, partnership, there's no mentoring. I hope you understand that. You have your own practice. No nobody mentored you. You come together and practice. Usually, what that actually meant was that you shared the cost of the office and you shared the cost of the clerk, etc. That was how Mr. Ladner, who trained me, practiced at number 24 Katawa Street in Lagos. That was where they were. But what then happened was that over time, some people get more busier than the others, or you go to court. By the time you come back, they start struggling for clients. The client who came to your office, the other lawyer will take the client because they will practice at times, like in England, they still practice under the name of a chamber. So they will all have the name of one chamber, but they're actually doing their individual practice. Okay, so that's the traditional practice. Then the solicitors changed it a little to one practice. Okay, but each person bringing their own into it. And what happens is that once one of them dies, the practice is dissolved. So you have to now create agreement under which somebody can pull out, and then other people can accede to the partnership agreement. Like the partnership agreement we have here in Punuka. People have pulled out from the partnership, other people have joined, and when we make new partners, they sign the agreement and they join, they become. And we are still running this practice with the same agreement we did in 2006. It hasn't changed. The same agreement. So when new partners come in, they just sign onto it. Right? But then there's the cravat model of partnership. It's a law firm in America, and what they did was to say, look, we can't run law practice on the basis that people will have their own practice and come and join, and then they will run their own practice within the practice. So they came up with the idea that they will go out to schools and recruit the best students, and then they will mentor them into the practice. That's how mentoring started. So mentoring is another form of partnership, but it's not the traditional way partnerships grow. The traditional way is you are coming to a partnership, you must bring something. At times you bring money, or you bring your clients, or you bring something, you know. But then they changed it later to say you can actually recruit people, mentor them, groom them, and they grow into partnership. So you need to understand it, that mentoring is actually a new form and a new strategy that many law firms develop as a way to groom partners. So ideally, prior to that, what will happen is you do pupillage. And as Okori had told you earlier, you simply do pupillage, and you may even have to pay for the pupillage. And when you finish, you're on your own until you can now get partners to join. And you have to have something you are taking to the partnership. So it's important that you understand the history of our profession, so that this mentoring that we are discussing, you will be able to position it properly. Okay. There's also somebody who is currently working in a firm, has a couple of career objectives. Says wants to gather experience in profession, obtain a master's in public international law, set up non-profit organization, obtain a PhD, own a business. And when it came to the plan, says, well, challenges faced are little exposure to gain industry experience, scholarship opportunity for fellowship and master's funding. So basically, funding problem. This is not the only person that mentioned funding problems. Many people said, oh, there is no money, etc. Well, there is nothing concrete here to help realize the objective. That's my comment. So yes, so funding is just an obstacle. It's just an obstacle. If you could go to the slide. animals here. Which is the tallest? Which is the biggest? Which is the fastest? Okay. And which is the most successful? Which is the most successful? The lion. Yeah. Yeah. So the most successful is not the one that is the tallest, it's not the biggest, it's not the fastest, but is the most successful because is the most strategic in thinking. So all those limitations, if you tell me that there's no money, my result was bad, and this and that, and those are all, they're challenges, but you can overcome them and be the lion. Okay. Um, there is one that I would like to talk about. A young married woman, late 20s, passionate about law, etc., and wants to be employed in a law firm that gives room to learn and grow. So I thought this raised the issue of life-work balance issue. Always very challenging. Um, um, and a couple of people around, there are those who say they want to be corporate lawyers on the one hand. At the same time, you want to be in practice. So let's take, some of them says, this one says, to be a chartered secretary, to be employed, immediate. Short term, to get international certification in compliance, to do masters in business law. Long term, to be an expert in corporate commercial practice, corporate governance and compliance, and to own a consulting firm where private companies can come for advisory services. A bit focused, but there are others who, in their responses, they said they want to be in company, in-house counsel, and at the same time, they want to be running a practice. So clearly, that raises, I see a lot of issues there, here, that raises what we'll look at later, issues of ethics, potential conflict of interest, and back to what I said initially, what's the objective? It looks like all they're interested in is making money. It's all about money. So even if they are working somewhere, they will be running another business somewhere. There will be this conflict issue that they may not be able to manage. And they will be running businesses that will be in conflict with the existing business. Then there is somebody who wants quite focused as well. Is into human rights. He's an associate. He's not into human rights, but he's an associate in a law firm. But wishes to work with United Nations Human Rights Council. Wants to be a special rapporteur. But mentions the issue of funding to do masters in human rights, etc. Has a clear vision about working around the UN. That's a good, it's clear vision. The vision is very clear. But the same problem, I asked, so why are you working in a law firm if you're interested in human rights? Why didn't you volunteer, to work in an NGO that is into human rights? So it's like the person is just dreaming. Maybe somebody told him that human rights is a good area, So I can't see the passion. I can't see that there is really value that is driving this person, So that's an issue. But there's quite a network of lawyers, particularly Nigerian lawyers, are doing well within the UN system in human rights work around the world. So we can help, like, connect that person to that ecosystem. But the minimum to get in there is a master's, So, but the funding challenge, that's your problem. You have to find a way to resolve it. You have to think out of the box. I'm really trying to challenge you. to think out of the box, because there's always solution, you know, to every problem. But we can assist and give some guides, etc. Okay, there is somebody who was called in 2008 and is still. My immediate aim is to get a job, and then my long term is to be on my own. But this person was called in 2008, so I said, this is a serious problem, because this is a serious problem, because the person is getting pretty old and is neither employed and is neither even practicing. So what has he been doing since 2008? Or she, I don't know. But this is a serious issue, but we can discuss further on how to assist such a person to actually find his space or her space in the world. So I can go into my slide. There is also a very old lawyer, about 14 years, who went into NGO work and now is coming back to practice. And, you know, the question is, you know, you build your CV yourself. Let me tell you, nobody is going to build your CV for you. You build your CV yourself. If you think that somebody is going to come and write your CV for you, you are making a mistake. And you think that there's one mentor that is sitting down there that will come and change everything in your life, you are making a mistake. You build your CV yourself. From what you do today is what would probably say what will be on your CV tomorrow. Okay? So I asked the question, in marketing, they tell you, you need to, for you to be able to get clientele, right? You need to go to where those clients go to. You need to do what they do. And you need to say what they say in their own jargon, so they will feel that you are part of them. So if you have been in the NGO industry, somewhere between the NGO and practice for 14 years, are you telling me that over that period you did not meet clients, or you were not socially involved by doing your NGO work? You are not socially involved with a community such that that community becomes your safety net of referral when you start your own practice. Back to the issue. Mentors don't do what? They don't fall from the sky. The same thing. Clients, they don't fall from where? From the sky. These clients, you have to invest in them. There are people like you in your church, in your mosque, in your football club, in your every social place that you are at. You must invest in the clientele. When you invest in the clientele socially, they get to know you, how you participate in club meetings. If you go to a social event or a religious event and they are discussing a topic and you make a stupid comment, they will say it's a stupid lawyer. The day they have a legal problem, they say don't give it to a stupid lawyer. But if you go for the event or the occasion, social has nothing to do with your work, voluntary, and you make a useful contribution, they will listen. You may be shocked the next time you come, they will say, lawyer, you know, you people, you know English, come and start writing secretary. come and start writing for us. You say, ah, no, I don't want responsibility. You run away from being secretary, right? Whereas, as a lawyer, you've already been trained for leadership. You have been trained for leadership. Go to every other country. Go and check their prime ministers and their presidents. The majority would have been lawyers. If you go historically. Because they train you in these values of freedom, justice, and all the rest. All those things you did in constitutional law and all that in the university. It prepares you. Logic. So when you take responsibility in those organizations, they see how you decide, how you lead them. When they don't have their personal legal problems, they say, call lawyer. So you cannot come to this occasion and say, I don't have clients. I don't have mentor. When you are already trained as a lawyer, I will ask you, so where do you expect the client to fall from? How are you involved with your community? How are you involved with your system? Okay? So let me I was just talking about my analysis of the data which I got from you. But I will just breeze through quickly some of the thoughts that I put down. And then we'll then do some question and answer. In terms of, because the confidentiality for me is very important, so we can have one-on-one later. Just I can give you specific advice in your own case, what you need to do, etc. But we can have general question and answer. Then we will then spend some time to do the personal statement. Now, I thought that, before, remember that what we are trying to do is, where is your space? Where are you in this whole world? All these things happening in the world. So, for you to be able to know where your space is, you have to even understand the context of the world. Where is the world, You all read the philosophy, and what did they tell us? That life is what? Brutish and what? Without what? So, why? Because there is no government. Where there is no government, everybody will be for himself, right? So and then they came up with the idea of social contract, right? People like John Locke and the rest came up with the idea of social contract. So you need government. So you surrender some of your freedom to government. In return, government will protect you and give you liberty, freedom, and protect your property, isn't it? So that's really fundamental, and that has always been the concept, etc., until another concept came of the market. That's, you don't need government. In fact, you don't need government. All you need is demand and supply. So that demand and supply should be allowed to rule, and it will achieve some sort of equilibrium. So you don't actually need a third-party government to intervene. That people in their interaction would meet their needs between demand and supply, and there will be no need for government. Okay? And so they try to separate the state, from the market, and many other events that happen around that issue of the social contract was that the government was monarchical in most places, most countries, because a few people seized the power of government as kings, and they were supposed to protect the liberty of the people. At the end of the day, they didn't protect it, so people said, no, we can take it directly ourselves, and then they started this whole thing of democracy in France and all that stuff, and sacked their monarch, etc. And then they started saying, okay, the government should not be involved with the market. Let the market run on its own, etc. We don't want a lot of government. So you see this dispute going on. But some people argue that no, you need government because if you leave the economics to be running just on its own, that it can result in bad change or things that can be very bad for the people. Because the profit motive will just overwhelm everybody. So government always needs to intervene. And the idea of is, most of the time these states were all territorial. They control a particular territory. But as this market was growing, people were doing more business. They were not selling across states, in other states. That's what led to globalization. The result of globalization was that the influence of states fell down. So states were not so important anymore because you have these big companies, they sell across different countries, and they can maneuver through the laws of the different states. It was more difficult for the states to not even control those companies, and so the states started coming together to form unions like United Nations, etc., in order to be able to regulate the world. Go to the next slide. So, that's not to say the domestic market is not important, right? So you can be talking. The reason why I'm giving you this globalization is because Nigeria as a market is very, very important, right? But I can tell you that most of the things happening here today are influenced from across the border. You see what I mean? So the clientele is changing, okay? So there is globalization, and so you have to understand what is happening. If you want to be a typical Nigerian lawyer, so you will wait until your uncle now comes to you that he wants to buy land, and that's the first time you get a brief. That's purely domestic. So if you don't have an uncle that is buying land, what will happen to you? No brief, isn't it? so you have to understand the global client, So who is the global client? Those clients that, go across different borders, they don't really care, who is going to do the job for them. Here, when you get domestic, I start saying, is this one Yoruba? Is he outside? Is he Igbo? All sorts of issues come in. But with the movement of what is going on around the world now, there are those who don't care about all those things because their business crosses all those boundaries, okay? So you need to begin to understand those people. They are highly motivated, they are sophisticated, right? And they are empowered. So let's say, for example, maybe if your client is your uncle in the village, anything you say is, you get what I mean? I know those days when my father came back from England in 1947, no, first of all, when he was going, because my grandparents were living on Tokumbo Street in Lagos. So they moved from Tokumbo to Marina. The wharf was on Marina side, not on Apapa side at that time. And then they were carrying all the portmanteau with dance groups. And Justice Onalaja, may his soul rest in peace, told me he was one of the boys that carried the load. That was the day he decided he would be a lawyer. The honor. He was not a lawyer. He was going to England to go and study law. So when he came back, there was gun salute everywhere in Lagos, also in Asaba. To celebrate his coming back as a lawyer. Now, so if he told his people anything, sure they would believe at that time. Now, but today, who is the client? Your potential client may probably even know more than you about law. Highly empowered with resources. So it's not those olden days clients that you are dealing with now. So don't think that, oh, I'm a lawyer now, so I can do wrong this over the clients. You have to respect the clients of today because they are more sophisticated. Some maybe more than you. And before you are talking to them, they have already Googled it. So you too have to be what? I see lawyers, they say that they don't use Google. Which client are they going to deal with? Are those clients are gone, you know. The clients today are digital. They are digital. So what are the things that are driving change today in the legal profession? I've told you about globalization. I am not discountenancing the domestic market. The domestic market is still very important. If you understand Nigerian market, there's a lot of scope for you here. Fine. But you have to understand that increasingly it's getting global. Okay? Then another thing is regulation. Regulation. Regulation is almost at our doorstep. As you were told that I chaired the MBA committee on the legal profession regulation review committee, and they've submitted the report. It has not been implemented. It may not be implemented. Lots of people are still with old ideas about, you know, the ideas of change that are there. But you know, change is the only thing that is permanent. And as clients are increasingly complaining, you can see the pressure on our justice system. Delays in court, people are complaining, cases are not being determined on time. You've seen the reforms that even occurred in election cases. Because those are more political, they amended the law, limited the time they can do the cases, you know, so many things. Eventually it will get to commercial matters. Simple commercial matters will be reformed. Either one way or the other, either through court rules, etc., cost. So many things are going to change. Regulation surely is a driver for change, and it can come in any form. It could be a main law that will now reform even our regulation as lawyers. It could be through court rule changes. It could be through whatever. I mean, recently the Supreme Court is trying to implement their email portal. Yeah. So if you are not email savvy, what has happened to you? You are off what? Off the market. Simple. So if it requires some sort of investment in a computer through which you will now be filing your papers, and you say you don't want to use computer, you are out. So regulation is a driver for change. Of course, the clients, I've already told you, the clients are changing every day. And you have to change to be like the clients, understand what the clients need. Regionalization. What is happening now is that Nigerian, you know, before we were just subject to imperialism. So everything is coming to Nigeria, everything is coming to Nigeria. But today, Nigerian businesses are going out. They are going out. And increasingly, they are looking for lawyers that have cross-border knowledge. A lot of cases we get here today, they would say, oh, so we gave a facility for this group, and they have projects in Ghana, in Kenya, in Lebanon, or Uganda, or somewhere in Europe. And they want lawyers who have cross-border experience to advise them. If you don't have cross-border experience or knowledge, you are out of that sort of work. It's complete. You are out. And that work is there. Technology is one of the drivers of change today. So if you don't understand technology, you are not investing in technology, you may find that what another person is doing within 10 minutes, you are using 20 days to do it. Will the client wait for you? Right? So, networks. And what I mean by network is, you know, who do you know? Who do you know? Okay, so you are expecting that a mentor should come to you. How did you build your network of relationships? And this network I want to take you back to one of the respondents here who gave a very beautiful answer that, look, I even used the office of one of my seniors as address for service. That is networking. That network, he has reduced his cost. Maybe he can even agree with that his senior that for using your office, let me be paying you 2,000 naira every month. Please, so your clerk will receive my papers. They call me once they get the paper. I'll come and pick it. That's networking. He spoke about how he was relating with other lawyers. That's networking. I told you earlier that at times we have some complex matters and we go back to the university and get experts to work with us from the university. That's networking. It could also include your partnership or how you relate in your firm. But generally, you have to have a network that enables you to access the resources you need to service your client. And you have to build and maintain that network. And the existence or non-existence of that network can drive your change. So I don't need to tell you too much about Punuka, but just to say that in Punuka we have a lot of elaborate ways by which we do the tradition, not necessarily at this stage now the traditional partnership, but we are open to the traditional partnership. In fact, in 2006, when we did the merger, it was the traditional partnership because somebody brought his practice and joined us, right? So that was traditional. But since then, we have been using the mentoring method where we recruit and we groom people and groom them to partnerships, okay? So those are some of the methods that we use, both the traditional method and the mentoring method to groom partners for the firm. Yeah, well, I think you can skip this because I've done all the analysis for you. So now how do you now find your space in the world? I'm taking from Jordan Fallon, and he says you need to be focused on a choosing market or preferred clients. You need to be focused. You can't service everybody. It's not possible. Right? So you have to choose your area. Which is the market where you want to play? And who are the clients you want to focus on? Once you determine that, then you have to operate efficiently and optimally. The operations are important. If you don't, cost will just drive you away from the market. You have to use technology. You always have to use technology. I always share this experience with my boss. My boss, I found, was a very, very fast typewriting person. He was so fast with typewriting. So I asked him one day, I said, "Sir, how come you type so fast?" He laughed. I said, "I should sit down." Sit down. I sat down. He said, "Tony, the best briefs come on Sunday and there's no clerk. And you have to file a motion on Monday." Say, that's how I learned how to type. May he so rest in peace. I never forgot that lesson. So I realized you always have to sharpen your skill and apply technology. Unfortunately, you know, some people don't carry it on. They may today be receptive to technology, and then tomorrow they resist technology. You know, so you may see somebody who is able to type very well. When computers came, did not buy computers when his mates were buying computers and becoming more efficient. So it's something that is in the mind. You have to always ensure that you are not content with wherever you are. So you must be committed to multidisciplinary approach to your work. Just understand that you can't be. It's changing today. You can't really say that this is it. Just this narrow aspect. You must be sufficiently diverse and sufficiently multidisciplinary in your approach to be able to solve problems for clients. And it doesn't mean that you will hold the knowledge in-house. It doesn't mean you will have all the knowledge in yourself, because from the responses we got, all of you think that the way you will make it is if you get all the knowledge. So you want to have all the knowledge, all the experience, all the everything in your head. And very few of you recognize that networking is actually more important. And I thought when you were in law school, they told you the good lawyer is not the lawyer that knows the law, but the lawyer that knows how to find it. Exactly. So once you have any problem, all you just need to know is, what resources do I need to crack this problem? It may be my colleague that I now know is an expert in this area. I will call him and say, let's do this one together. You see what I mean? So that's the issue. Okay. So you must structure your services around reliability, convenience, and value. Okay? I mean, one of the things that I really, really, really dislike is like a lawyer just going to a client and say, give me money. Or you go to a client and say you are broke. Did they tell you that in law school, that even if you don't have money to enter the bus, you should never tell your client you don't have money to enter the bus? Never. Right? Because each time you ask the client for money, you must be exchanging a value. You must be giving the client something back. The client must have the perception that you are giving something back to him for asking for that money. Not just without giving any value, say, can you give me money because you are a lawyer. So value is very, very important. And reliability, and you must structure your services such that they are producing value constantly for the client. Then you can bill. Yeah. So, I know most of us here are not, you are individuals, so you are not really running firms, etc. But I thought it was important to understand that how firms find their space, because it can apply to you individually as well. So, how do you then create your own space? How do you create your own space? Like everything else. You know, when I was telling you about the world, how the world is, how you have government, how governments became states, and how it led to how market came, and then how it broke down because you now have many states, and then you have globalization and all that. It seems very confusing, right? Yes. In every issue, you must understand the context. If you don't understand the forces that are playing around, right, you will not know where to position yourself. So you must always understand it. So even if we finish on the international, we come to Nigeria, you must know the context. You must know what are the forces playing around, whether is any type of force, whether ethnic force, constitutional force, all the forces, the market forces, you know, the skills, where are the skills located? You need to know. How many of you have database in your area of interest? How many of you keep database of, okay, who are the top lawyers in this area? What are the top resources? Okay, then who are the top academics in this particular area? Oh, who are the top clients in this area that gives the referrals out, right? Because if you don't have that data now, how do you now get into the position of saying, okay, what's my strategy to mine into those places, those people or those places? You see what I mean? So you must always understand the context. Once you understand the context, you can set your vision. You can then set your vision. But like I told you before, what's your vision? What's your vision? If you go and check many of the top companies that make billions and billions of naira or dollars and ask them what their vision is, you will not see anything, nothing monetary. See, let's say a big pharmaceutical company will say making people healthy or wellness of life. You see maybe those people doing coffee, selling coffee and things like that. They will say the best coffee in the world, or they may even be selling the atmosphere, like those who when you get into where they sell the coffee, you have free Wi-Fi, free this. You can sit and read for hours. They won't tell you, oh, you are finished eating, go, right? So they say lifestyle living, right? They didn't tell you about money, but what are they doing? Yeah, so you must set a vision that is value driven. Vision that is value driven. Then you have to develop strategy how to achieve that vision. And then from the strategy, you develop your plans. Now, you know, like getting certification and the rest, those are all part of the plans. From the responses I got, a lot of people thought that is the end when they get certification. No, they are chartered secretary or the arbitration, chartered Institute of Arbitrators, or even SAM. Those are just certifications. They are not the main thing, but they are things that stepping stones you may require to achieve something else. If you think that senior advocate is an end in itself, I will tell you that there are senior advocates who are finding it very difficult to get briefs today. Difficult to get briefs. There are senior advocates whose income reduced because they became senior advocates. You don't believe it. You don't believe it. Their income fell because if you can be in a community where they are used to, they pay their lawyer, then they pay your transport each time you go to court. Now they know that because you are a senior advocate, you cannot go to court alone. So they have to pay for you and another person. And they cannot afford to pay that second one. It's existing. So you get recognition as senior advocate. So what I was talking about is, certification is an academic thing where you get knowledge. Then recognition is where you get something like senior advocate, or as the reform they are thinking of bringing another position which will be called certified specialist, So you can become a certified specialist in one area or the other to encourage specialization. Uh, those are all recognitions. And it's important because at times the society don't know how to measure who is a good lawyer, who is a whatever. So currently the standard is senior advocate, but it may become more specialized when they start the certified specialist, where people want who is the expert in this area, and then they want a certification on that. So that may be important. Network, I won't talk too much about network. You can't do everything yourself. It's the network you build around yourself that will help you. You must invest in the relationships. I've told you this before. Go ahead. Culture and socialization. The one of the advantages you have, you see, because within the, if you understand the context, right? The context of globalization, for instance, where you have these foreign companies come in, and these foreign companies probably want to come with their own lawyers, right? But the truth is, their lawyers may not understand the culture here, right? And so you have an advantage because you understand the culture, etc. So you can actually compete with them, or network with them so that you can work with other foreign lawyers and be their local counsel because you understand this market, and everybody finds a little bit of space. That's how you do it. So you have to know where you are strong and you focus on that very well. And your culture, who you are, where you are from, all those things are also important. But I find that some people deny it. They don't even go for their village meeting. They cannot tell you who they know from their town. You know? And that may be their strongest strength. They've thrown it in the wind. You know? Ethics and professionalism. Critical. Ethics and professionalism. Without this, everything else fails. At the end of the day, what will sustain you in this business so you don't fall into problems, you know, is you must know between right and wrong and avoid wrong, right? You must know the difference between right and wrong and avoid the wrong. And at times the pressure may come from your clients who want you to do something wrong. And let me tell you, the clients come and go. If you ask me which client I made money from 20 years ago, I can't remember the name. I cannot remember the name. The clients come and go. The only thing that will remain is you and your profession. So protect it. Yes. So I think these are just tips for us to be able to put in context. So what I want us to do today is to do a personal statement. So you do a personal statement. It will have your vision, your strategy, your plan for career development. But summary, right? That statement. Don't set a low bar for yourself. Don't tell me that you want to just have money. Don't tell me you just want to eat tomorrow. Don't tell me you are looking for a job. Okay? What I want to see from your statement, your personal statement, how do you intend to impact the world? Believe that you can make an impact in this world, and write your personal statement, which will tell us what that vision is, the strategy you will use to achieve it, and the concrete plans you have to make an impact in the world. Don't worry about the money. It will come along the way. So we end with this video. Iowa, don't you people have data? Okay, while they are trying to get the video on, we'll take questions. We'll take questions. Go, you can lead the.
Yeah. So I'm sure by now you are feeling sufficiently challenged, right? Okay. So do you have questions? Make the best of it now, because mentors do not fall from the sky. Ask your questions now. Yes.
Everybody. My name is Rhoda Ojo. First, I want to say thank you, sir, for this expository session we've had with you so far. For me, if I had this kind of exposure beforehand, maybe I would have better been able to focus my vision or be able to direct my energy towards, focused goals. But it's never too late. So back to my question. This is sequel to what we have discussed. Now, like the questions you were posed, that was posed to us while we were answering the online questionnaire, and you asked what are the challenges you're having currently. As a young lawyer, after graduating, we were taught that having a good result will get you to the door. But upon graduation, we realized that wasn't the case, or that isn't the case right now. And that's one of the current challenges I believe most of us as young lawyers are having. You have a first class, you are guaranteed the door. You have a 2-1, maybe. You have a third class where we don't know. And that's one of the things I'm currently facing as a young lawyer. I didn't network in school, per se. I was just attracted to that fact that I'm going to come out with a good result. And that's it. I'm going to get a good job when I get out. But I'm out. It doesn't work that way. I have a 2-1, I have submitted CVs to practically everywhere. But there's no job. And I'm wondering, what is the position? What is the problem? And I actually encountered another experience. The issue of mentorship is something. It's that mentors don't fall from the skies. You have opportunity to work with someone. I had an opportunity to work with someone as a NYC copper. I'm sorry to say, that man actually drove me crazy. I ran with my tail in between my legs out of the law firm. Why? Because you had a system that actually bullies rather than mentor. So to be sincere, I was disappointed at some point. I said, is it that I should go and do veterinary medicine and just follow my love for dogs, and make money off of it? Because I didn't understand the reasoning. You have young lawyers that I left Port Harcourt, came to Lagos. I was willing to not even earn as much as 50,000. Just let me get that experience. I would leave Aja to Yaba. Every day I get home 11 p.m. As a lady. And I can't get what I'm looking for. At a point I have to develop a mantra. When I get to the office, I'll say, Rhoda, you can do it. You are not a failure. Don't listen to this man. That's your boss. You're actually fighting yourself against. And I'm wondering, why is the law position this way? Why are we not giving these exposures beforehand? That, okay, these are the things you were going to meet. Then be ready for them. Because when you get there, you are ready. So, sir, I really need to understand what's going on in the system because I'm just 2 years at the back. I still don't have a job right now. I'm doing an internship just because I don't want to be jobless. So I have to do internship pending when I can get what I want. But these problems are still there. Who do you know? Who do you know? I have to call my auntie that knows somebody that to submit CV to somewhere. Why? But I read for this thing not to happen to me. And it actually happens to some of us here. That's what we are going through. So, sir, please, if you could address those key issues for me, I think I would actually believe that my day is made today. Thank you very much.
Clap well and ask your own question.
Okay, why is there? Because she spoke a lot, so I think they are digesting what she said. You know, I don't know whether you got what I said, that it's likely to get even worse. It's likely to get...
Marcus Aurelius once said, it's...
Okay. Yeah, play it. I will come back to you, but let's just listen to this. Yeah. It could help to inspire you. Then I will give you the news, and then, you know, hope that will also inspire you. Yeah.
not death that we should fear. We should fear. Marcus Aurelius once said, it's not death that we should fear. We should fear never beginning to live. When we die, our lifeline does this. When we're alive, our lifeline does this. Notice how that connects with our real experience of life. Life is full of ups and downs. It means you're alive. Twists and turns. Love and loss. Happiness and sadness. Success and failure. We experience extreme highs, peaks and summits, and at the same time experience the troughs, the lows, and submit. Life is kind of like one big crazy roller coaster. It starts slowly, fills you with anticipation and curiosity, takes you up, and then sends you flying down, only to rise up quickly again. We laugh until it hurts. We cry inside a little. Experience a few moments where we wanted to stop and hope it's all over, but it just keeps going. We somehow think that success is linear, an upward line. There is literally no case study for that. Everyone we admire has ups and downs. Your body mostly replaces itself every 7 to 15 years. The organs that work the hardest have the fastest changeover. You get a whole new skin every 2 to 4 weeks. Your red blood cells last less than half a year. And your liver renews itself at least once every couple of years. The universe is always changing. We are always changing. But we want to remain the same. We settle for security, not recognizing that a flat lifeline means we're dead. Real life is ups and downs. Death looks like this. Every time I see that, I remind myself, this is living. This isn't. In the journey of life, we pass pleasure and pain. There will be sunshine and rain. There will be loss and gain. But we must learn to move forward again and again. Don't judge the moment. Don't try to hang on, because Marcus Aurelius once said, it's not death that we should fear. We should fear.
It's okay, thank you. Yeah. Well, it's a very difficult one, right? Life is full of ups and downs, as you've heard, right? The challenge for you is how to anticipate change and how to manage it, right? I've never seen any CV that you have, any application that you have written. You may ask the question, but I am an employer. I employ people. And I just gave you an example of how people write applications. And they don't get read. Right? So, you have to, you need to know that there is a space for everybody, including yourself. And you need to know that you need to improve your ability to present the positive. And recently we rejected people who had very good 2-1s. We've rejected people who have doctorates. They come here, say they have doctorates. I say, you have doctorates. Yeah, so can you tell me about your community? They are looking at me. Say, well, your community, how did you do doctorate? When you do doctorate, you should have. I remember what I told you about dancing, getting into a dance. So who are the other people you were dancing with that you became an expert with, so that that's a community? And one of them told me that, oh, so when he was in Canada, because he couldn't get a job, he went to do master's. Then because he couldn't get a job, he went to do PhD. PhD just because he was using it to while away time abroad. And he never got into a community, he never got into a dialogue, he never got into. So I said, so what are you bringing here as somebody who has doctorate? You know, what community or clientele or knowledge of people are you bringing into the firm? They didn't get the job. So qualification is one thing, but you have to have the value that you are bringing into the equation. And when we were in law school, we told that law is a social profession. Part of the problem, we've had is that they open. But they didn't prepare for the outcome now. In Canada, where I also am licensed to practice, they have in Ontario, which is the province, one province where I'm licensed to practice, they have over 80,000 lawyers. 80,000 lawyers. I mean, we have in Nigeria, dead and alive is about 120,000. Ontario, one province, of a population of about 12 million people, because they have 1/3 of the population of the country. So, of 12 million people, we have 80,000 lawyers. So, in terms of ratio to the population, they have more lawyers to the ratio of population compared to us here. It's 120,000 lawyers for 120. You get what I mean? Practically full employment for all the lawyers there. Why? Because in business transactions, they always need lawyers. But not every lawyer is a barrister, licensed the way I am. people that I was, one of my friends who was here, who is now practicing over there, he, he, he does mental health. So, nothing they do other than fill a few forms for people who have mental health challenges. They go before a board of doctors and things like that. So, but for that they get paid, and a lot of it, a lot of most of that work or immigration work is paid through legal aid system. Part of what we've been campaigning for in Nigeria is to give more people access to justice. The state actually has to fund the legal aid using private lawyers, you know, for many of the services that citizens should get. That should be able to give a lot of work to people. Now, is there something you can do about it? Yes. Um, I gave a talk in August or so. I can't remember. I don't know, either August or June. I spoke to the Bar Association in Kaduna, and they said they wanted me to talk about modern legal practice. And so I told them I can only talk to them if they agree that it will be interactive. They agreed. I said, okay, so there will be internet, and they are. And so I did a survey with them. 57% of those people who were there were self-employed. That's what I call sole practitioner. In other words, they are not employing another lawyer, right? They are just working alone, right? And only very few of them are working in the ministry, and few of them are working in law firms. The reality of the situation, and that's why you have to understand the context, is that the majority of lawyers in Nigeria are still probably going to be self-employed. That's the reality. The majority of lawyers in Nigeria are likely to be self-employed. The position today is that there are maybe about 200 law firms who probably employ not more than 5 to 7,000 lawyers, or probably control close to 60 to 70% of the income in the profession. That's the big law firms. And that statistics is, it mirrors the same in other countries. So you are struggling to become part of those groups, those law firms, right? And it is very tough. It is very tough. What I would say is that if you anticipate this situation, right, I would ask you, so what have you done to be able to monetize your skill? What have you done to improve your talent, your marketability? What have you done to build your clientele? How innovative are you? You know, what is your community? You partnership was some guy approached me have another meeting. So the next meeting, I told him, oh, I need to see your list of clients. I need to see your list of books. I need to see your list. I thought I was doing you a favor, and then you are now putting. So I said, this guy is not serious. And I rejected it. You know? So, but that was when I first saw that I had some value. You see what I mean? So, that's what I would advise you to do. When I started, my first clients were my family. You know, the first information I got when I left school, my uncle there for a company for me, I did, you know. You know, then he introduced me to the social club, and then there used to be simple things. Landlord wants to give quick notice to somebody, and you know those little things. We started slow, and I will tell you that even this whole Punuka thing, there's a sort of myth, there's part of it that is made part of reality, etc. You know, that was created, you know, strategically, right? Yeah. So my father set up the law firm in 1947, but by 1961 he was made a judge. So where was the law firm between 1961 and 1990 when he resurrected? So there was a lot of creativity that went into, you know, bringing back the concept. You know, there was a time when Punuka was 2 rooms, and then people come and say, "Did you say this is 1947?" You know. But today when they come, there's a match between when you say it's 1947, it's like, oh yeah, it's here for it's 1947, right? So, except people share their stories with you, you will not know what they went through. It's not easy. But I challenge you. I challenge you to write your personal statement and show the same passion that you have shown. It is, your focus is about getting employment. That's the problem you have. Not about being a lawyer and making a difference. It's okay. We'll take other people and you can still respond. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the wonderful ship. My name My name is Abuku Hilary Ikechukwu. Actually, I did my chambers externship in this year 2015, and I'm happy to be back. My question will be brief. It's based on what you told us today. Because it entered me when you were analyzing what we wrote while applying for this mentorship. You actually hit mine. That was when you were talking about human rights, because I had the passion to work with the international human rights organization. I tried it. We started it when we were serving Idigbe, and I picked serious interest. I browsed. I did many things to know how. After my youth service, I joined one. But truly, I was learning nothing. It was truly a way of making money, not money from government. Then later, maybe I actually thought I also need some money myself. I applied for law firm in Lagos. I thought job here, but came down. Then even while I was being interviewed by my boss, my present boss, he asked me, where are you channeling your effort? Where do you think you are going to be in next 10 years? I told him, sir, I want to work with human rights organization that I comprehend
in Nigeria, you don't see them. I have actually browsed Nigerian Human Rights Commission. I see nobody. To see anybody that you can say that this person is, in fact, the only human rights activist that I can see in Nigeria of today from your own firm. And I say, why wouldn't I take a job in a law firm? Then my boss said, okay, that himself is into other businesses. He doesn't go to court a lot, but he has something. So it's not what I said. Then he decided to say that they have this interest in this one. And then he's going into this. That's how we do it. Since I started, whenever you bring this issue of money, then I still follow that passion. Like I've applied many times, learn what, human rights, whatever. Then sometimes I even need the issue of master degree and make experience. And then I'm following it. The master degree, I see myself the kind of. But then my question, after giving this little background is, I think, can I say that I have a mentor who is far away in Netherlands, but I admire him. I admire his work. I told him everything, and I try as well to do my best. But I don't have any personal.
Okay, okay, don't worry. Thank you. Namdi, introduce him to Tochu. So Tochu can put him in the network of, that university, because they're actually more into the human rights thing. So he may be able to get an admission to go and do his master's there, depending on, yeah. Yes.
Good evening, sir. My name is Sunday Fadipe, and then just to go straight to my question, I am very interested in mentorship and then the management of law practice. So that's why I want to ask this question. So personally, sir, how do you strike a balance between being a mentor and then conducting your law practice as a business? Because we've all been told over time that law practice, apart from the fact that it's a practice, it's also a business. Now, why I'm asking this question is because personally, I had the opportunity of working with a learned CEO who almost every time was always talking about mentorship, inspiring us, motivating us. But then on the other hand, there was this issue of, despite the fact that on one hand we were getting mentorship, on the other hand we were losing confidence, on the other hand we were losing motivation because of the other things that were happening from the business side of the law practice. Now, so for us there was no synergy between being a mentor to us and then working for him. Now it created a problem, so many problems. Now, so it became an issue, which is why I think, and to be fair, sir, and then the truth is that these things happen in so many law firms, so many. We have senior lawyers putting forward the toga of mentorship, but at the same time treating you in one way or the other. So, sir, I think it's a very interesting thing, and I would love to learn, and then I'm sure every other person will have to know about this. How do you personally create this synergy, strike the balance between being a mentor to the people who work for you, and then again conducting your law practice as a business?
Okay, thank you. Well, maybe in my own case, maybe my experience also counts, because I was an associate in the chambers. I learned. I became a partner in a law firm, RY Kuku and Associates. The partnership failed. That I joined that partnership after I told you many people approached me, and I sort of decided that was the best. So I went there. It didn't work out very well, and I left. I didn't even stay up to a year, and I left. And then basically went back to the family business and resuscitated it. And, so those experiences I, I, I went through as an associate and also as a partner. I basically swore that I will not let anybody go through those things. So we structured this place in such a way, to the best of my ability, that, you know, they will not go through what I went through. Okay. Um, um, Today, I don't know how they pay salary here. Honestly, I don't know how they pay salary. So we have a couple of young people, lawyers and non-lawyers, who run the operations. Actually, I struggle to get my own entitlement. And then most of the time, my PA will be the one fighting with them to get my own out. You know, so it's a structure and it's working well, actually. So their people are quite empowered here. In addition, funny enough, because of time, I didn't say a couple of things. In Punuka, we have what we call reverse mentor. Have you heard the concept of reverse mentor? So we have reverse mentors here. So I have a reverse mentor. So because we realize that the younger people are digital, they have certain knowledge and the rest that we don't have. So if I'm having problems with how to operate my phone, I go to my reverse mentor, say, hey, come and teach me how. Come and teach me how to operate this app. Come and look. I need this. And she will say, this is the latest app of that issue, right? So we have reverse mentors within the office, where the younger ones mentor the older ones, and then we also assign mentors to so everybody has a mentor here, and then the older people have reverse mentors, usually for next things and soft issues that you may not understand. So I guess it's for them to say whether it's working out well here. But I can assure you that even here, I used to worry because I thought I had done everything I should do to make sure nobody goes through what I went through. And then I've had partners leave. Then I'm like, what did I do wrong? Then there are associates that you think that these associates are prepared for partnership and the rest. And then they leave. And there was a particular one that left. I felt I had so groomed this gentleman, and he was going to be a partner here. And he left. And we had a party for him in this very room. Because he left properly. We had a party for him here. And I was brooding in my heart that, what did I do wrong? So after everybody spoke, and I spoke, and he was to respond, the first statement that came out of his mouth in his response, I have always dreamt of having my name on the name plaque. That was the day that I realized that there was nothing that I could have done that would have kept him. Because he had always what? Dreamt of having his name on the name plaque. So you can just do your best. You get what I mean? So when I then studied around, I found that all over the world, I mean, even things that I'm involved with, the journals that I get journals on things happening around the world with law firms and things like that. The news is always that, this firm has about 5 lawyers or 20 lawyers from this firm have moved to this firm. Then the next day you hear these ones move to the other firm. So really, that movement and the rest is neither here or there. And that's why I told you that here we have 2 methods. That is the traditional method of partnership and the mentorship method. So tomorrow, if somebody who has a practice decides he wants to come and join with us, we may bring the person in with his practice, and at the same time we'll be producing people from the inside through mentorship, right? And people can be here and one day decide they want to move. They may move. I mean, it happens. But at the end of the day, many of these firms have still been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, re-engineering, anticipating change, and positioning for it. That's the issue, and that's also what life is. You said, you saw the video. Even your body is changing every minute. So you have to anticipate what is happening in the marketplace and prepare yourself. You cannot give the excuse. That excuse is what I don't want to hear, that there's nothing you can do about the situation. Okay? There's somebody over.
Hello. I think I may want to add to what the senior partner is talking about from the perspective of 90, I believe. I think I'm hearing you talking about an aspect that she brushed, which is the idea of feeling bullied, feeling exploited, and feeling that no value is actually coming back to you. They say there is a thin line in terms of mentorship, between mentorship and talk. Yeah, between mentorship and tormenting. And I know that, I think I'm hearing a lot of you saying that your experience about some of the people you look up to is that they are mentors that are so focused on themselves as opposed to actually wanting to, pass certain things to you. The reality is that many of such exist. Now, that goes back to what the senior partner mentioned about, do mentors fall from the sky? There is a role, and an active role that you actually have to play. Even the mentor that you feel is perhaps insensitive or bullish and all that, the truth of the matter is that it also depends on your manner of approach. I doubt that there is any junior that is avid to learn from somebody that is a senior colleague and is ready to bend over backwards to get what he needs, including if he gets once in a while, in quote, a slap or an insult. If you don't have the thick skin, you will actually not be able to look beyond those issues and get the value that you are looking for. So the question for you is, are you ready for mentorship? Because it involves an aspect of drilling, like in the army. It's not just you walking there and just having fun. You have a mentor, he's a bobo nice, or he's just it's not that. Nothing good comes easy. And there is actually a period of incubation and maturity. And some of the values that will be passed to you, like I mentioned before, the truest form of mentorship in our profession still comes with pupillage. You can have it in a context that you are a salaried person and all that. You can also have it in the context of networking, as he has mentioned. But it requires investing your time and actually being a bit pushy. Even when the mentor, so to speak, does not have the time, if you actually are disturbing him, he will make the time for you because he sees the interest. Mentors will not feel encouraged if they don't see that you have, that appetite, that hunger in you. And that is naturally many of the things that we younger ones seem to lack, particularly in our generation. We lack that thin skin, that drive that, we need to, push it out there and get what we want. I hope I'm addressing some of these.
Okay, the lady over there has a question.
Good evening, learned SN. My name is Ekanem Nakanda, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Now, you talked about restructuring a family business, and I suppose at the time you started doing it, a lot of litigation was, do I say, perhaps the source, or that was the crux of legal practice in those days. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I have also heard you. If I stand to be corrected, I think I've heard you say at another forum, or I've heard you quoted as saying that commercial practice is also to be used as a backup for practitioners, so that when litigation is not really going forward, one can also sustain a practice. Now, I also suppose that when you decided to restructure the family business, you perhaps had support of the family members. Now, what if you're in a situation? What would you advise someone who's been told, why don't you just go get a job, and perhaps you're pulled in different directions to do something other than what you're really passionate about? And then, how would you advise one to finance a practice in this day and age, especially when you're still kind of coming up? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate your coming, very much. She's a very senior lawyer. I think this whole, because people keep saying this thing, Tony, you are privileged. I think it's very overrated. And that's why I try to clarify the situation. It's extremely very difficult for me to explain to people that it was very tough for me. Extremely difficult. People don't believe it, but it's actually just it's because of the success. Yes, I cannot deny the fact that I have an advantage of a name. But the reality was that hit me first was that, once my father wasn't alive, I was pretty much on my own. And then you have to also know that my family background is polygamous. And I wasn't exactly on the most privileged side of the whole polygamy stuff. So it wasn't that easy, it wasn't that easy. However, I think even with the little knowledge that I had at that time, I was a bit strategic as to how I built relationships and how I built different circles. From this circle, I moved to the next circle, and to the other circle, and to the other circle. And then, as soon as I then became successful, everybody thought it was the name that made it possible. But it wasn't exactly that straightforward. Two, when I went back to the family business, there was no file. I tried to explain to you that the old man had become a judge in 1961. And then I was restructuring the business in 1990 with no file. The only files that were there were mine. Whatever I was able to bring into it. And that's the truth. So it basically started from scratch. My friend Ogundele gave me a loan that part financed the furniture for those my 2 rooms in Akobo. I'd gotten to meet him as a client in RI Kuku, an associate. I built a good relationship. gave me finance. My brother, we couldn't pay salary for 1 month or so, you know, and I didn't know who to go to. I went to my brother, dude, gave me a loan, pay salary. I think when that failure occurred the second time, I said no. When I'm making money, I give it to the bank. So why should I be going to my brother to take a loan when I can't pay salary? So I went to the bank and said, I always put my money here, you know, and when I then don't have money to pay salary, I have to go outside to ask for money. You people must give me the money. They say, oh, you don't have security. The usual stuff. So we'll give you overdraft, and, but you don't have security. So I said, so how do we do? I said, I can, they said, I can do cash deposit. So I said, okay, fine. When I'm making money, be keeping the cash. So that we can build. So eventually we did a deal. They gave me an overdraft of 40,000 naira. So we had cash of 40,000, overdraft of 40,000. Then I said, yeah, so at least, you know, I could use that overdraft. Over time, the whole overdraft grew. But when we did the partnership in 2006, we did it on a zero balance basis. So I had to pay off the overdraft because it was on the basis of no debt. Yeah, so everybody brought in whatever, yeah, without any debt. So the overdraft was my business. But it didn't matter because I had the cash back, so the cash canceled it out. But I then had more cash than the overdraft. So all that belongs to me. So it was not exactly easy, but yes, I was able to tap into the name. I was able to tap into the social circle, and I grew it one after the other. But I can tell you that it was not the name that made it possible. It was what I have told you about here. The reliability of the services, the efficiency of the operations, the technology we kept deploying, you know, and I'll give you all sorts of examples growing up as a small firm, where all the things I mentioned to you, we faced those challenges, you know. We couldn't buy branded computers. We had Mustafa who used to go to the market, get the monitor, get the CPU, get the keyboard, and couple it together, you know, and it was much cheaper. And they used to break down very often, you know. And I remember one day they broke down, and when they start breaking down, you find you can't send your invoices. And when you can't send your invoice, you find that this month the cycle moves very fast. The next thing you know is end of month, and you don't have money to pay salary. And so I one day went and bought 5 computers at the same time, and then I had a problem with my partner because the issue was you didn't tell me you were going to buy 5 computers at one go, and you know we had some issues about that. And I had to explain, look, this is issue of efficiency and operations. This is how it affects the cash cycle. You know, bills have to go out, etc. That's a long time ago, I'm telling you. So knowledge, investment in knowledge, and then when I saw that, you know, the business was growing so much and that there was no need of knowledge of management, then I did an MBA. And I tell you that MBA really helped me. And I always encourage lawyers to have knowledge in other areas. It actually makes you a better lawyer. You know? And a lot of times when I'm advising the client, I don't know whether knowledge I'm using. So I do law, MBA, that kind of stuff. So, and I'm saying this because I don't want people to go away thinking, he's just talking, he's privileged, you know, things were easy for him. No, things were not easy. And you don't know how painful it was for me to have to go and borrow from my brother to pay salary for my staff. I did it out of class. You know? But those things also spoiled me. I always see them as challenge. Those were the things that made me to say, I won't let this happen again. And I will put things in place that make sure they didn't happen. that's why I want you to react, respond to your experiences, and set targets and say, this is how I want to deal with this. So there were no briefs that came. And I can tell you how the briefs came. There was one particular brief where they wanted to basically drive me away. And they gave me, because I was coming every Wednesday, I had a budget. We were all in Lagos. So, and if I'm targeting a bank, I go, Wednesday is my day of visiting. I can stay from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. So the woman wanted to drive me. They go and recover this 10,000. I took the file. I gave it to Cosmos. Cosmos was just paying this year. So we looked and looked. We couldn't. The person was one clinic in Orile. When there, it was closed down. So one day, Cosmos ran back to the office. I said he saw a clinic with exactly the same thing inside Balogun Market. I said, go back and find out. So he went back, met, it was a woman. He said, you were at the relay before. The woman said, yes. Ah, you are owing this back. So, you are owing this back. She said, yes. It's 10,000 naira. What will happen? I said, pay. I said, okay. So he came back and said the woman said she will pay 5,000 naira, and then later she will pay the other 5,000. So I said, good deal, take it. She paid the 5,000. We sent to the bank. After a month or two, she paid the balance of 5,000. The next week, in my tray, a brief recovered 250,000, and then half a million, and then the bank ran into problem. The bank, there was a run on the bank, and they felt I was one of the most efficient people and they wanted to manage the cost. So they came to me and said, look, Tony, we're having problem, everybody's suing us. So we want a deal with you. 20,000 naira per case, will you take it? I said, yes. They went back, came back, and sent 50 cases. That's one of my first big breaks. 50 cases at 20,000 each. One of my first big breaks. Started from 10,000 naira. So, it didn't fall from the sky too. You have to be tenacious. You have to continue. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. And one last thing I never had said, but I think I should tell you. Everything I've said, you also have to have faith. You have to be prayer. A lot of things are not necessarily your intelligence. A lot of things are not necessarily by your result. A lot of things are by grace. So you have to prayer is very important. Thank you.
Well, I think questions are still coming, but the issue here is that, yeah, time. Oh, there's dinner. Oh, very well, very well. I think because the dinner part and all that may get us a bit scattered everywhere. Maybe it will be opposite for us now to have a vote of thanks.
Exercise. Hello. Yeah. So just to introduce myself properly, my name is Tobenna Erojikwe. I'm a partner at the Law Crest LLP, and I'm the chairman of the Continuing Legal Education and Mentorship Committee of the MBA Lagos branch. I'm going to say a few things before actually saying thank you. The chairman of the MBA Lagos branch, Mr. Chuki Kwazom, wanted to be here this evening, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it. But he's asked me to extend his gratitude to you, Chief, for today's session. I just want to say a few things. First of all, the question is, why do we do these type of sessions? And why do we have an emphasis on training? I think one of the things that sort of affected my life the most in recent times was when my friend Chuka said he was going to run for the chairman of the MBA. So I had just come back from England after 10 years practicing in England. And, you know, he said there was a lot of decadence in the MBA. I didn't understand what he was talking about. But going into campaign with him and discuss with lawyers, I immediately realized that there was a big knowledge gap. I also realized that people needed mentorship and that people didn't have money to fund those things. And at a point, we agreed to say that we're going to offer free training and mentorship, just so that we'll fill this gap, because we believed that what we sell every day is knowledge. I'm grateful to firms like Punuka who have taken us up on this huge challenge. Chief talked about mentorship, and that mentorship, mentors don't fall from the sky. One of the things that we've done really is to start up what we call the one-to-one mentorship initiative. So we are at the moment pairing about 150 young lawyers with 150 lawyers across the globe on what we call a body-style mentorship that will last for a period of 1 year. So you have an interactive every month with your mentor, and we'll monitor the progress with that. So hopefully with these things, we hope that the gap will be plugged and that will increase social mobility and end up in some way investing in ourselves. And for me, that is the space that I found since the time that Chuka became chairman. Now to today's session. I feel very much at home here. I've worked with very good friends, and I'm happy. Namdi Oragu, Carlo Courier, Adetola Abimbola, great people have worked with me in setting up today's event. Today's model is actually down to Chief Anthony Idigbe, because when he wrote an email and said he felt that the style we had proposed wasn't the most adequate, I got very excited, because he was the first mentor who had actually brought his own personality to bear on what we were doing. I sort of struggled to understand how it was going to work in practice, but you can all attest to the fact that this is probably one of the best sessions we've had, because it's actually, I think in my view, it's ministered to literally everything that everybody has had to, the problems that people have, and that is indeed very fantastic. So, Chief, I'll just say that when we sit down to look at the mentors that we pick for the group mentorship sessions, it's actually a big exercise, and people ask a lot of questions. Why this person? Why that person? And the way we look at it actually also is that it's like an acknowledgement that we give to those members of our profession who, through dint of hard work, have managed to get themselves to the pinnacle of the profession, and who are also very keen to give back what they have. We are very grateful to you, sir, for today's event. We are grateful to your firm for hosting us. I consider myself very lucky, because I get to listen to some of the most brilliant people when I go on this circuit. Initially, I thought it was a waste of time, because I'd rather be making money in my office, but then I find that every day that I listen to people like you, sir, I learn a lot. So, gentlemen, I'll ask you to rise to your feet and give a standing ovation to the mentor. Thank you very much. Thank you.